Hello, Sam here from Aldous Systems, and I'm here at the Aldous Systems HQ in Aylesbury, and I'm in our demo room, which shows a lot of the products here that we support and distribute, such as IP Pro Edge, like this 10 gig video over IP system. We've got the Aratnis range of products, such as the 310 switches, the 310 routers, also the new 520 routers and the 620 switches, and a full range of Wi-Fi access points from Aratnis, such as this 820 Wi-Fi 6 access point, and also we've got the Wi-Fi 5, 510 and 810 access points as well. We've also got Rayco lighting here as well. We've also got a full wall full of Sarasota invisible speakers. We've also got their amplifiers too, episode amps, Pulsate video matrices, of course all driven by the nice home management control system. But in this video I wanted to talk to you about IP PDUs, or the Internet Protocol Power Distribution Units. Probably one of the best inventions in the technical world. Mind you, probably one of the most important on the project as well. In general, a PDU provides high or low voltage power to devices, and they come in different form factors as well, such as 2 outlets, 4 outlets, 6 outlets, 12 outlets, 24 outlets as well, and each outlet can usually be independently controlled. A standard PDU will either have a bank of switches on the front of it, allowing you to manually turn off and on those outlets independently, or the PDU might have one switch, such as this Furman M10XE power conditioner, which has a single switch on the front to control all the outlets on the back and the one that's on the front as well. And these are great, and I've used many of these before on projects in the past. They're cheap and cheerful and they get the job done. But with an IP PDU, you can control individual outlets via the Internet Protocol, so control it over the network. And most of the time, IP PDUs will be integrated into a control system, such as Elan or Control 4, Savant, Crestron, and so on. You can also remotely connect into that PDU via a service such as Oversea or Demots, or even via a VPN as well. It will save your customer going into the rack room and rebooting a device manually. Here at Aldous Systems, we are distributors of Aten and Wattbox IP PDUs. And here I've got the 2 outlet Wattbox IP PDU, and just below it is the 8 outlet version. Just above the Wattboxes we have the Aten IP PDU. This is the 4 outlet version, and then we've got the 8-way just below it. This also comes in a 16, 24 and even 30 outlets as well. You can give the customer the ability to reboot outlets on the PDU from their control system. The devices that I'd put onto an IP PDU would be routers, switches, audio and video devices such as skyboxes or Apple TVs, matrices or audio matrices, some amplifiers maybe as well, and even low voltage devices that might be on a trailing socket too. And as I said, what's great about an IP PDU is you can control what the end user reboots on their system. So you might want them to only be able to reboot skyboxes or Sonos players, for instance. I wouldn't give them access to things like routers and switches to make sure you're in control of that. A few years ago when I was on the tools, I connected to a customer's house via a VPN, and I accidentally turned off the outlet that the router was connected to. So that meant an early morning trip up to central London to go and turn an IP PDU outlet back on. So you don't want to give your customer the ability to reboot mission critical devices such as routers and switches, or even turn them off from the user interface, because that can cause major issues to the system. Anyway, Wattbox and Aten can both integrate into Elan. There is a Wattbox driver in the Elan core database, but also Intrinsic Dev have also created a Wattbox driver which has some cool features such as energy monitoring and status feedback as well. Aten never had a native Elan driver, so we created a telnet driver using the HTTP commands in the Elan system to control the outlets on the IP PDU, which I'm going to show you in a demonstration shortly. So we reached out to Janus Technology and we asked them if they could look into developing a Aten IP PDU Elan driver, and they did. They sent it over to us and we've been testing it out. Let's take a look how we do it. I'll show the way that I've integrated Aten into my system using telnet commands. On my system, I've got the Aten PE6108G, which is an 8 outlet IP PDU. First thing I need to set up is the telnet settings in the Aten. So I'm going to go to its IP address and log in. And I go to SNMP and telnet settings and ensure that telnet is enabled. The defaults on here are tel admin and tel pwd or tel password. On my Aten I've got it set to a different password. I press save and that's it. I can now control this PDU. If I go ahead and open PuTTY, which is a free and open source terminal emulator, it allows me to connect to the Aten unit via telnet on port 23. I input the IP address of 192.168.7.50 and ensure that port 23 telnet is selected. It's now asking for the telnet username and password, so the username is administrator, and I'll input the password. And now I'm on the command line. In the Aten manual, it shows commands that you can send to the PDU to control the outlets. So the command I'm going to use is SW008 on immediately. SW008 off immediately. I press enter and we can see that outlet 8 has now gone off. So we can replicate this in the Elan configurator. I'll go to the input output tab. I'm going to add a new HTTP device and name it IP PDU. The IP address field is 192.168.7.50. Change from port 80 to port 23, and then put in the username, administrator, and then input the password. I will have to create the commands manually for off and on, and you can also do a reboot command as well. So I'll add a new command and call it out8 on. On the window for the code, I'll type in what I did in PuTTY, but each command needs to be separated on each line. So I'll do administrator, then do password, then put the command in SW008 on IMME, and then we do quit. The quit closes the telnet session, ready for the next command to be sent. Now add another command and call it out8 off. I'll do the same, but add the off command. So administrator, input the password, SW008 off IMME immediately, and then quit. I can test this from Elan now, so I'll go to the commands, right click on the off command, and click on test command. And the outlet for outlet 8 is now switched off. If I now go to outlet 8 on and right click and test command, the outlet is now on. I've got a custom page on my system where I assigned the commands to a button press. So I've got power control for switch, video matrix, SkyQ and Rayco. These are all toggle buttons. Now I said I wouldn't give the end user access to something like a switch or a router, but for someone who works in the industry and kind of knows what they're doing, then I would not worry too much about it. And in the viewer, on my power control page, I can turn the outlet on and off for, say, my AV Pro video matrix, which is outlet 4. Anyway, so to this page I added the buttons, I right click on the button and create an event map for the toggle on. So I'll edit mine just to show you how I did the commands. When the toggle button is turned on, then send the relevant command I created in the input output tab. Toggle on turns on the outlet, and toggle off turns off the outlet. And this has worked great for me for a long time now, and other projects that have got IP PDU spec'd in them. But this is a manual process, and this is also a one-way driver, so you don't get any feedback on the status of the outlets. And it could take a little bit of time creating commands for each outlet, so on or off. So you could create the driver and export it and then reuse it later on another project. So we put in a request to JNS Technology to develop a two-way IP driver for IP PDUs, and they sent us it over to try it out. So also here on my test bench is the Aten PE4104G. So it's got the same integration rules. You need to log into the web UI and enable Telnet. In the configurator, I go to the input output tab and go to relay outputs and add a new output controller. When the window opens, I need to browse for the driver, which is in my Elan drivers folder. And we can see the range of Aten PDUs that I can control. So I'll add in the PE4104G. The first field to fill in is the username and password. The default on this is teladmin and the password is telpwd. And this driver does require a license, and to purchase one you'll need to go to Driver Central. I'll input the IP address and check that it's on port 23, then I'll just go in and add the license. And then I'll go ahead and click apply, and away we go. I can control the outlets. I'll right click on outlet 1 and I can turn the outlet off, and that's now gone to off, and then I can turn the outlet on as well. I'll go into my custom page and I'll add an output toggle button. In the properties window, I'll give it a name, so it could be called Sky Reboot, and I'll connect it to the Aten Eco PDU outlet 1. Press apply, go to my viewer and send the command. One press turns the outlet off, and I press it again and it turns the outlet on. But you might want to perform an actual reboot automatically, so the outlet goes off then back on its own. So back in Configurator, I'm going to add a standard button to the custom page. And right click and create an event map for a button press, and it brings up the event mapper window. I'll go to outputs and find the Aten PDU. Now I can power the outlets on or off, but I can also cycle the ports. Above the outlet commands I can execute a function. In the drop down I can select outlet 1 off, on, cycle or reboot. Cycle powers down the port for about 10 seconds and reboot is about 2 seconds between the off and the on commands. So I'm going to choose cycle. Click apply, head to the viewer, go to my custom page and click Sky Reboot. And now outlet 1 has gone off, and then 10 seconds later comes back to an on state. A cool thing that you could try, and I've seen on a few projects, is to add the slider button. Then the user has to slide the actual button to issue the commands. So this can save on any accidental reboots. We can put the reboot button on the actual Sky interface, so the customer hasn't got to be page hopping to reboot something. So I'll go to Media in Configurator, go to my Skybox and I'll add a slider to the interface. Call it reboot. And then add an event map when the button's pressed. And that'll be to cycle the outlet. I'll go to the viewer, head to media and select Sky, and there it is. I can slide that button and it will reboot that outlet. IP PDU is a very invaluable piece of hardware to go on any installation. Thank you very much for watching.